So this is bigger. I would talk about other topics adding to what I originally talked to, but yeah, for some reason, I'll start and break it down because it's struggling how I feel caged in this life. This life for me is a nightmare, and every day I wake up because of reasons I cannot comprehend. And I exist just like everyone else. I breathe, I think, I see, and of course, not everyone is able to have all those qualities, but that doesn't make me privileged. It just means that I'm suffering in my own way because it might be an advantage to not even have any of it. Oftentimes, I there hope my life would end as quick as possible and not have to deal with any of this, but here I am today. So, I would talk about many topics. Um, every single time that I try to record, for some reason, there is a force beyond my understanding that is almost unlucky. It is almost like it's trying to hold me back. I keep trying. I keep trying to record for the longest, and this is gonna be the one because I'm not gonna let this fail. I'm just gonna keep trying until I finally get a video out because it's either my phone dies, um, the video gets corrupted, the video overextends a certain amount of time that you can record, the audio is bad, the service uploading onto YouTube gets glitched out or it doesn't show, and it's stuck like in an infinite processing, and so many things seems to be going against me. But here's the thing: you keep trying. This might be my third attempt today, and out of 5 years, 5 years that it took to even try, many times I just gave up too. But I'm alive, and I figured that I would try and keep trying till the message is finally out. So first off, my name is Daniel. My full name is Daniel Alexander Perez, and I exist on this planet just like all of us. Um, I'm suffering. I'm suffering. There is nothing anyone could do, and the only change is the change that I can make. So I'm gonna keep fighting until I stop suffering. I always try to start off with the childhood part. Um, I don't have a script or anything, but I do have paper. It's what I call seeds, that seeds of consciousness, that I have no coherency to anything because I don't understand anything, because I don't know anything. So it creates a cycle where I call it the void, where nothing can come out of it. And a lot of my good ideas I never bring out because every attempt has always, there's a dark force we'll call Satan. There's this dark force constantly corrupting everything in my life, and I have no control over it, and nothing I do seems to defeat it. And no matter how much I try, it has ruined so much of my life and has crippled me to depression and bitterness although I do not take it out on others, but I am unhappy with the situations. So the only way I can do it is just to hopefully pass on understanding to any individual that could relate to some sense of it. And if it ever happened to you, well, just don't feel alone. I'm gonna start off with the childhood part. My childhood consisted of being born. I am mixed. My mom is Hispanic, my dad is Jamaican. If you're wondering what the Hispanic part is, Honduran. So this is what creates the features you see here. Growing up, I had many friends. I had a lot of friends actually, and my favorite pastime was going to school because of how fun it was just to interact with other people. And we would talk about, like video games like Mario. Mario's a classic that even to now it's still relevant. We play video games like on the Nintendo 64. Eat candy, cartoons, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel. Those were the things of our present time period that were just amazing. Sorry, I'm bouncing. Life, for what life could be at the time, or was what it was. And if I were to label it, it was enjoyable for those circumstances. Um, I am the second child of four now, but at the time it was just two and three. And even now in my life, I am still neglected, and the middle child is neglected. So if you are a second child and you're neglected, I understand you. And it is your opportunity, and it is your destiny. I'm placing this on you to always raise your children with love. They should know that the love that they have from you is something that can never be questioned, and that they can confide and trust in you for anything. My parents are from different backgrounds, and I don't know anything about them. To this day, they've never been part of my life. There are memories, of course, and they happen there, but they don't know me and I don't know them. They're just vessels that I interact with. And what I recall from them is a lot of toxicity. And I say toxicity, it's a word that got very popular recently, and I just replaced it with evil because everyone understands toxicity. Like, again, I have to repeat all the things that I say because repetition, but you can't understand how many times this evil force has destroyed everything. So toxicity is a word that I replaced with evil, and it basically, if you can have a mental image, toxicity basically self-destructs itself, and anything that it touches, it degrades, and that's what evil is basically. And we live in a very toxic and evil society, and an evil world, and an evil reality. And we are born into it, and like radiation, by coming in contact with it, we become infected, and now we're toxic and evil. So my parents, for who they were and who they are, it was necessary for me to get to this point in life. However, and I have to accept that the reality is not in my control, and all I can really do is exist. So, do I like my parents? I like him, but ultimately I do not love him, and that's okay because maybe it's not my time to love him now. But my parents, they're very toxic. They are very immature. They were always fighting as a child in my childhood. Um, I don't know their history and what led them to be who they were, other than just the time when I was born, called them parents. But they were always fighting. There was always yelling, always chaos in the house, always just constant negativity. Every birthday was just terrible. And one of my greatest times was not being around my family. And I would avoid my family. I'd walk away from them because I would observe and see how just unhappy they made me feel how I felt. And I was the second child, so of course there's an older brother, an older sibling, and my older brother was not very kind at all, not at all. And he's changed now, but there was a need to change. There was a change, and the need, I guess, is subjective. But for the person that I grew up with, if you've ever had a bully in your life, well, the characteristics were displayed in him, you know. And I often was always crying, was always sad, was kept to myself, reclusive, because it was a very controlling and toxic environment, and it was very detrimental to my health, physically and mentally. My brother would always fight with me physically and always insult me, call me stupid, fat, ugly, and maybe he can discuss in a way for others to understand. I don't want anyone. This is not like, this doesn't give you the right to go and persecute these people. But I speak the truth, how I feel. And he got away with a lot of things. So I was always in trouble, always getting in trouble. I was not allowed to do a lot of things because my brother was always mean. And my parents were always fighting amongst themselves. So there was never a time where, I got in love. And if there was, it was very short. And we did things as a family, but it always ended up sour. It was like, I think of like if in a religious sense, people would say generational curse. If it's not a generational curse, then a curse, if you can understand that without the religion, that there was something wicked following me from my childhood. And, I was always alone. I doodle just like I doodle now. I was a very huge fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. It was one of my first consoles, the Sega Genesis, and I had Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And as you can imagine, my brother did not like me playing as first player because it's all in the head. My parents didn't really guide us, and my understanding was always just based off Christianity or Christ or Jesus Christ. I, as a child, would pay attention to the cartoons that they would play, and because of all the constant negativity that I saw as a child, I completely avoided it and learned not to do those type of habitual cycles of madness and anger and violence and evil. So I was bullied a lot as a kid. My parents really were abusive verbally and physically. I got spanked a lot because of my brother for situations I didn't deserve. And to this day, you can't talk to them about it because they don't like taking responsibility for the things that they cause, and no one really does. Um, so it's really hard to live in this life, and this is the purpose that I'm trying to talk about, so I can just get a break, and finally discuss and express and release, and to communicate and build a foundation of trust and community with people, of like-minded individuals, and hopefully, I can understand myself better. So, growing up was very, 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 very toxic, and I would escape into video games like playing Mario and Sonic. I'm a huge fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, and I definitely do enjoy the design of Sonic. I think that, me personally, hopefully I get the opportunity to represent Sonic in a better light than what he's currently being portrayed as, because I feel like it's almost like self-sabotage that, for such an iconic character, um, what is Sonic now is nothing even close to the hero that I once valued. And hopefully I can bring out the perspective inside in me that will shine the true side of what I feel many people will actually consider like, this is the Sonic we deserve with time. So I would play Sonic, and I was always relegated to second player. So it's not entirely that bad, because um, you're playing as Tails, and if you play as Tails, you have invincibility, you don't die, um, based on like life, so you don't get a game over. You do die, but you can just spawn back. So it was always fun to play with my brother. If there was like a necessary chance to help out, it was very nice, because everyone likes to help, and does feel good to be useful. So that was very fun. Um, my childhood was mostly just drawing Sonic the Hedgehog, and it wasn't like drawing OCs, but I think that that's a thing, and I know it is a thing, and it has some negative connotations to it, but I mean, Sega, if you are watching, that is a huge source of love that the fan base is looking at, and you can provide, you know? Easy, next Sonic the Hedgehog game, and next Sonic the Hedgehog game by Sega. It should have Nintendo quality, because I really only like Sonic. I don't know anything about Sega. And for what the games have been introducing to me lately, it's not appealing to me. It doesn't represent Sonic in any way that I feel justifies him and himself. Everyone treats him as a laughingstock. He's the butt of the joke. He is the person that people like to pervert and to make him, look unappealing, almost fun to characterize him in a negative light. It's fun to joke about him, because everyone is probably upset that our hero is basically a former glory of what he used to be. And here's an idea, Sega. And when I say Nintendo quality, I don't mean to rip off Nintendo, because I see it. Sonic and the Black Knights, you give him a sword. Who has a sword? Link. You're gonna think, okay, where's the connection? But then Sonic also turns into a werewolf, who also turns into a wolf. Link. You see Sonic Lost World. It's basically trying to be like Mario Galaxy, and it's not. It's not unique. Sonic could be entirely greater than Mario, because while we can have fun with Mario, he's a very interesting character. He's not cool. Sonic is cool. Sonic is fast. Sonic is, his style is basically what represents him. He's got attitude, and not many people can relate to an Italian plumber. It is fun, You can just replace Sonic. I mean, you can replace Mario with like Sonic and have Sonic go out through the Mushroom Kingdom, and just if you were to do that, everyone would probably like that and be like, "This is amazing." And there's nothing wrong with Mario either. Mario is amazing, but Mario is just always gonna be good, and you should understand what makes Mario good. So this is the part where before I even start talking about the game, understanding um, Sonic and what makes Sonic Sonic, and why Mario is always excelling while Sonic, for being as fast as he can never seem to catch up. So Sonic, his design is just, it's very iconic. You know, it's his silhouette is very easily noticeable. Um, he is a hedgehog, a blue hedgehog, which is exotic because not natural things are blue in nature, and hedgehogs are not necessarily blue. And um, hedgehogs are usually cute, and Sonic's not cute. He's aesthetically cool. He's edgy in a what you would call like a radical way, because that was the time period. Um, his colors are blue, white, and red, and those are American colors. His ability is that he's basically a conscious hedgehog. He is able to think rationally, and because he thinks rationally, his motives are usually a righteous motive. It's what propels him, because he is fast, and he's considered, quote unquote, in his universe, the fastest thing in life. And while that is great, with great power comes great responsibility. And if Sonic was just always using his speed for negativity just to win every race and get the medal and glorify himself, well, no. He's not prideful or cocky. He is a loving individual who cares about his friends, his environment, and the well-being of others, even his enemies. And those are qualities that you would want to instill into a child, a hero. So it is good that he's fast, and as you can see in most modern games, that seems to be like the main focus. But what is the identity that is Sonic the Hedgehog? Because this is an entirely fictional character, but he's very real in the minds of the people that really enjoy his content. I think that the way that Sonic is that I feel like he's not being portrayed properly. First off, let's talk about his design. Sonic Boom has to be completely westernized ideology. Uh, it's a more Western take, and it is influenced by Western ideologies. Now, making Sonic grow, it's yeah, no. We should. What makes his design very iconic is his colors: red, white, and blue. He is a hedgehog, which is not normal. It makes him exotic, just like his colors. Um, and he has the cartoonic and Japanese influence aesthetic. You ever look at the Japanese box arts? They look very appealing. They look very um, you know, beautiful. And with the Western box arts of Sonic 1 through 3 to compare to the Japanese, uh, they're not necessarily bad because I think human imperfection, just as a kid drawing what he saw in the box art, it does seem like that's what, you know, a basic understanding to a child. First looking at Sonic and looking at the box art and drawing what he saw, that's what it looked like. You know, it looks very appealing. So you get best of both worlds, but I feel like the perfect design is in the middle, more leaning towards a cartoon and Japanese, uh, um, I guess foundation, but influence in the Western way. And I would have to draw that to show, but um, Sonic has basically like a very nice design for him, and he's very close in uh, parallels to what you would be like a cooler Mickey Mouse, and that's a very nice take. You know, there's nothing wrong with it at all. A good comparison is that when it comes to like the Western design for not just Sonic Boom, even the trailer for the newest Sonic the Hedgehog movie, realism is not always what is necessary. This is a universe, and we are peering into it. The laws of our reality do not need to apply, and most of the time we're watching movies to escape. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with if you ever watch an animation or not an animation but a cutscene from Sonic the Hedgehog's games. Most of them are fairly well. You know, there's not necessarily need for um, a hyper realistic hedgehog design. Is not necessary for a human. It's like more human than hedgehog, and that's not what Sonic is. Sonic is a hedgehog with human qualities. Sonic is fast, and again, morals. With his human qualities, he is a hero, and he is a hero because of his actions. He is a cool, cute looking, or not cute, innocent hedgehog, and off the basis of anything, if you've ever known anything about Sonic the Hedgehog, um, his universe is that um, he is capable of running really fast, and by running really fast, he's able to turn himself into basically a weapon, and by being a weapon, he fights for righteousness, and against a world where, you know, there's death, there is mysticism, and evil always lurking around. And he does it. What motivates Sonic is not negativity. It is he has a purpose in love and protecting his friends. It's great that Sonic has a lot of friends because that's what people should always strive to be, a very loving person and respectful to their friends. He's an inspiration to many. What you could easily do is we already have a foundation. A lot of things in the past, there's the Archie comics, there's the video games, and the cartoons. Take the good from each of them, look at the bad, flip it, because there's, you know, if it's bad, what makes it bad? Oh, you know, this doesn't really mesh well. Well, the opposite will mesh well. So, a new Sonic the Hedgehog game should definitely be Sonic, and you understand more about who Sonic is. So, Sonic's identity and what makes him Sonic. and you learn his backstory because there's no explanation to Sonic other than that he's just fast. But why is he fast? And in his history, you might discover that if you read like the Archie comics, or a Sonic the Hedgehog comic, I'm not entirely sure which one, but there's so many sources that you can pull from that, if anything, let me just think of right now, and basing off this probably from one of the comics, but even still, this is property that you could use. Uh, Dr. Kintober, which is Robotnik backwards, was a good scientist, and he was trying to revolutionize the living life system that they lived in. So he was trying to bring paradise to Mobius, is what the planet basically is. It's just Earth, but just Sonic's universe. And by using his intelligence, he was gonna fix all the problems of their time period. And you find out that he adopts or is mentoring Sonic, and from what I recall, like, something goes wrong in the experiment, and what is it? I'm assuming multiplying. What is it? Technology, which is the main enemy that or main tool that Dr. Robotnik uses. Multiplying technology with the energy of the rings, because they seem to be an energy source. Plus the Chaos Emeralds backfires, and this diverged into the reality that they live in, where Dr. Eggman, which is Dr. Robotnik, which was once Dr. Kintober, is infused, which changes his personality entirely with the negative side of the Chaos Emerald, and now his personality is completely inverted, and this gives birth to Dr. Robotnik, and mocking by Sonic, Dr. Eggman. And Sonic being there, he is also caught by the energy, and he is now given human qualities. He is now blue with green eyes, and his shoes absorbed most of, or he just, his whole, everything that he was wearing or wasn't, he was just a hedgehog wearing shoes. And like, this is again similar to the comics. All credit to it, but these are good ideas. Gets infused with that energy, and now he's now the Sonic the Hedgehog that we know. So now his new persona is born, and you find out that Sonic was very good friends with Dr. Kintober, and this is a good reason why Sonic can never endanger Dr. Robotnik, because deep down he knows that his friend is still inside. So he's always trying to find a solution and a way to save his long friend. And throughout that, Dr. Kintober turns into Dr. Robotnik. Dr. Robotnik uses his intelligence and newfound persona to overcome their reality, take control of Mobius, become the basically next Hitler, and wipe off everything that is organic, and basically give an entire reign of cybernetic robots and androids. So Sonic escapes, of course, And you know, this creates basically what could be Sonic the Hedgehog 1, where Sonic leaves and he is collecting the Chaos Emeralds because he understands that if that was the case that caused all of it, it can also be the solution. So, throughout the game, you collect the Chaos Emeralds and you also collect rings. The rings could be used to power um, whatever device he plans to use to resurrect whatever machine it was and bring back Dr. Eggman to Dr. Kintelberg. So now Sonic has an objective, saving his friend and also not letting his friend damage what is their life in reality, because that is actually a real threat. So Dr. Eggman uses his technology to try to uh, destroy Sonic and or um, roboticize him. And um, now it's up to Sonic to stop him from destroying everything and then ultimately saving his friend, which will bring peace. No more conflict. There is a resolution and a clear, conscious goal and end. So Sonic, meets Tails. This gives Tails a purpose that, you know, um, Dr. Robotnik is trying to enslave humanity, or also humanity, because they're also humans. Um, Dr. Robotnik's trying to enslave everything and turn them all to slaves and robots. And he finds Tails as a child, and he basically is Tails' older brother. And he looks after Tails, and he not only is admired by Tails' ability to fly with two tails, but Tails is not only a child, um, he's also very intelligent. And this could be a plot device that Tails can be. Of course, he is relegated to the intelligent one, but let's not make him sarcastic, but let's make him someone to look at and be inspired by. That, if you looked at from a child's perspective, you have an older brother, and you admire him for who he is. You may not ever be able to be like him, but you have your own set of qualities that contribute highly to the existence that we share. So, you know acquiring Tails is a benefit for the end cause or end goal. And now Sonic can use, and not to use it in a negative sense, but Tails will be assisting him, and Sonic will use the technology that they recover from Dr. Robotnik's defeated enemies, um, to reverse engineer and always bring a positive for the negative. So Dr. Robotnik tries to roboticize his friends and enslave both the animal people and human. So by reverse engineering, uh, throwing a robot would, solve the problem, and they would be de-roboticized. Um, so Sonic goes around collecting the Chaos Emeralds and collecting the the rings to provide the energy source for what will be their um, basically foundation, and hopefully like a base for where they're able to operate from. And from then, Dr. Eggman tries to steal the Master Emerald, which introduces Knuckles, and you learn more about the history of Mobius and the ancient civilizations of the Echidnas. And the Master Emerald is basically a giant emerald, and by harnessing its power, Dr. Eggman could power a what a a machine that subconsciously or consciously influences people so that they obey him. And you know this gives a real threat to Sonic and his friends, because anyone that is influence could turn on them and no longer support them. And with Knuckles being who he is, I don't like that he is considered the uneducated one. I think that he should definitely be the humorous one, which is like ironic because he's the one that you laugh at, like haha, look at how unconscious he is, how unself-aware he is, but or lacking self-awareness that he is. But like unlike Sonic, he doesn't chuckle. Let's change that and let's make him a very, you know, very very confident person that understands that he is strong, but he's also sensitive. I think that not sensitive like he can't take a punch and not that he's afraid of throwing punches, but he has a strong value for life and he sees the beauty in not just his floating island but the world, so this encourages him to want to explore it and understand all different types of people. And because all he ever knew was because he was born on the island alone and he's the last of his descendants, um, he is naive. But you know this encourages him because he sees Sonic as a threat to his emerald, not to him. And this encourages him to want to understand the outside world more. So for people who are like outsider class, people who are usually like isolated and alone, you know, whatever feelings that those type of people um, may feel, I think that we should establish that in Knuckles, where Sonic he is a loving person, but he can be someone that might become a little bit too overconfident. Tails, he is someone who is lacking confidence, and it's not because other than the reason that he's young, so he looks to Sonic for guidance. Knuckles would be like an outsider, usually like imagine. I consider Knuckles like kind of like the Jamaican class, like in Jamaican dark skin. Just picture like usually there had to be a reason for why his descendants were wiped out, and we can influence it in ways that are true. Racism does exist. So speciesism, the movie echidnas were not liked because they harbored knowledge and wisdom that they didn't share, and people tried to abuse their power. So they separated themselves from the rest of the Mobius and started on their floating island because they valued life, but they saw that how the outsiders were very dangerous, like Native Americans, and they were wiped out because there were people that came to steal their power and cause conflict. So maybe there might be a bit of anger in Knuckles. He's an outcast and he's a little bit. He's loving of nature, but not trusting of humanity or other species because of his past. Um, these are all good things about these characters. We should always be able to relate to these people and learn a bit from them. And they shouldn't just feel like archetypes and, like empty vessels that just do motions and you just accept them like forcibly. They should be people that really make you relate to them, be like, wow,